Hello, everyone. It is Rory here at that Eurovision site, Eurovision with a slice of life. My name is Rory, and in this video, I'm joined by the lovely Molly. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Very busy, but
Very,
good.
very nice. Well, as you can see from the title of this video, we're going to be checking out Serbia's national selection, Pesma's Evroviziju 2025. The selection is all over and done with now, and we now know that Prince is going to be representing Serbia with his song Mila. We're going to get into the selection, what we thought about the result, and how good it's going to do at Eurovision. So let's just get straight into it. So yeah, I think it was a really tough one to start off with. I mean,
Mm,
where do we even go with this selection? Because there was a lot of drama that kind of surrounded this. We had quite a good number of people withdrawing, and then obviously there was like some other kind of issues that were kind of coming on based on the
mm,
winner. For those of you who may not know, obviously there was a little bit of sort of fan backlash after when Prince won. He didn't necessarily say, take in some congratulations from second place, the Harem Girls. And also, this is also kind of being done in the backdrop of the whole RTS protests against,
mm.
the Serbian government at the minute by students as a result of what's been going on in Novi Sad. So obviously, we stand with the people who are the students and who are fighting for democracy and everything like that. We are 100% behind you. Um, but yeah, so with that, what did you make of the shows? Did you watch any of the shows? How was it for you?
I think it was interesting. I think there was some performances that originally I was like, yeah, this is gonna do well. And then with the live performance, I was like, okay, right, maybe the vocals are good, but it didn't like I said, it has the full package has to be there. I think with some of them it just wasn't.
Hmm.
And then there were some that were like I listened to and I was like, okay. And then when I saw them, they became like one of my favorites, which we will discuss.
Yeah, yeah,
Those
definitely.
two.
Hmm. I mean, for me, I think it was an interesting show. I only really watched the second semi-final because I was in Croatia when it was going on. So obviously
Mm,
it was like I was more focused on what was going on with Dora. But I from what I saw, it looked like it was again like a fairly straightforward selection, from Serbia, very high quality in terms for the staging and that. You are definitely right in saying that like the some of the vocals were probably not on the full level as where they could have been. But I think for the most part, things were fairly straightforward. I think, this was very much a run of the mill kind of national final for Serbia. Didn't really make too much waves in terms for like interval acts or any kind of just in general kind of like the
yeah.
formats of things, and all of that kind of stuff was pretty much carbon copy from previous years, so that for me was
Mm,
was fine. um and then we obviously then get to the results, and I mean, like, obviously Prince is now going to be representing Serbia with Mila. He had a full-blown like kind of stage show with like, how would you say, like kind of the moon kind of thing, and then there was also this woman who's just spinning around on a rope kind of vibe. There was a
yeah.
lot of different kind of
Trying to
faces
remember the
being brought
name
in.
of
I mean, what do you make of the winner?
I think there's just too much. I like there's a line between like it too much going on and then too less. And I think this one it goes into like there was just so much going on, it just distracted. And with ballads, like it's really important you don't throw too much because the focus has to be on Prince. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Prince. Yeah, yeah.
The thing has to be on Prince, and my focus wasn't always on him. It was like on, oh, there's a dancer over there. What's going on with the moon?
Yeah.
And it's. I think they need to sort out like keeping the staging focused. And also I think it's there's a lot of ballads this year, and this is very much like a very Balkan ballady type thing. So whether that's going to be overshadowed by like Montenegro, who have a very similar sort of vibe sound, is going to be very interesting. So I think they need to be careful not to go, right, here's everything at the door. Like
Yeah.
tone it down a little bit. Like you were saying, it's like, oh, there's an aerial dance. Oh, there was something going on the moon. Like it's too much.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's I think it was one of these ones that people didn't really talk about first off when the songs were released. We had a lot of other songs that were kind of taking up the
Mm,
conversation. So when the results were kind of coming in and the jury, we're kind of giving this a lot of points, and we a lot of people probably didn't see it coming because we were like, oh wait, with this one, oh, okay. And then it still managed to get a really high televote score as well. Like, who didn't win, because that was Boyana and David with Shesta Chula, which is the one that you were actually talking about in the pre-discussion. Um, I think a lot of people just didn't see this song winning, and then all of a
no.
sudden it did. I think it's
Yeah.
it's kind of in a similar situation to the Portugal situation. I talked about this with Daniel on the Portugal one. No one really expected it to happen, and then all of a sudden it just kind of came out of nowhere, and then and won. Um, so I think there's been a lot of hate for this song, and I mean, I don't fully get behind the hate, but I can see why people
Yeah.
don't like it because,
L
like, I don't know, it is a Balkan ballad, like how you said, but
yeah.
there's the sum of the parts is not equal to the whole in this, if you
Yeah,
understand.
I think if they can get it just more focused on him and tune a little bit and maybe like just focus on getting that staging like precise, then it can genuinely do well. Will it like be like top 10? Who knows? Maybe meh.
Yeah,
But you probably get a decent score if you actually just fine tune things. And I think people do make it sound like it's the worst thing to come out of the election, which it's
it definitely
it's
wasn't.
not.
It
It's
definitely
not.
wasn't.
It's not the worst thing ever seen. Like I think it just needs fine tuning, and then we can sort of come back to the board. Which this has happened before in Eurovision. There's been a national selection thing that's won, and then they've tuned it, and it's done very well or it's done decently well, and that's sometimes that's enough. But I do feel like with Serbia, I'm just gonna say it was disappointing from when we've seen like Luke Black, we've had oh what's the name? Romanda,
Constructor.
who's Constructor as well, but who sung Romanda? I can't
Oh,
remember her name.
Teodora.
Theodora. We've had three big ones come out of Serbia, and to have them just kind of bring out something that's like eh is
Mm,
really disappointing. And I'm I think the song's okay, but it's not. I think it's not the standard of what Serbia could bring
yeah.
to the table.
Yeah, I think it's a good song, and I think it's very obvious that Prince is a very good, capable performer. I think though, in for the semi-final that it's in, it is very unpredictable, and they need to find a way to, like how you said, kind of refine the stage show and kind of focus on him, but still make it a big kind of spectacle, because like otherwise then you kind of run the risk of being forgotten, and you don't want to be forgotten in a show
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Eurovision, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I mean, what did you make of the rest of the show? Did you see, like, or any of the other performances, were there any ones that kind of stood out to you?
So I think well, I'm just gonna tip the bucket. I loved Harem Girls. It was I don't care if anybody's like, oh, it's a joke entry or whatever. It
Yeah.
was fun. It was pure fun, and I absolutely loved it. And the fact that they went on as like a sense of they didn't really, from what I researched, they didn't really go in to win. They went in for like the representation side of it, which I can really respect.
Hmm.
I can really expect that motive, and I think they did really well for what they went in for as well. And um like the vocals were good, like the sort of charisma, the stage presence was really good. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was as you could call it, camp. It was amazing. Like the outfits were really good. One other one that I mentioned in the previous the pre-discussion was Boyana and oh gosh,
David.
what's the David. There we go. Thank you. Boyana and David, which that one I think the vocals were there, but I think the staging was just lacking,
Hmm.
especially the costumes. The costume looked very cheap. I don't know if I'm the only one that kind
No,
of
yeah,
picked
yeah, I
that up.
understand.
Yeah, it looked very much like it, no offense, but came from Shein. Um, which like
Other sweatshop companies are available.
yeah, like that sort of side of things. But I feel like the it it did try to be creative, but I think because there was so much space there, it was like, okay, can we do a little bit more with this? Like,
Hmm.
the song is so good, so to have like the staging just not match up to it, it's like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I think it was an okay song. I think like a lot of the performances they had were kind of again straightforward. There wasn't really anything that was really pushing the boundaries of stuff, you know. I'm for the main ones I'm thinking, you know, Mimi Mercedes was probably one of
Mm,
the more interesting ones because obviously they just stopped something halfway through and then you know she was doing a lot of like dance breaks and things like that. So like there was a little bit of interest in that. I think as well, Sedlar was also kind of an interesting one. It was the one that I mentioned as well during the pre-discussion. It was, you know, very, you know, relaxing. It was very much understated, and you could tell that it was appreciated by the juries. And I think it did really well actually with the juries. But then the televote score was nothing for it. So, and then when you look at the breakdown of the votes, hardly anyone had voted for it, which is very interesting because I
yeah.
mean, he also had supported students in the thing, and like for example in the semi-final, he at the end of it he raised his hand, which was in red, and red is the currently the color of what's been going on in the students revolution. So it's kind of interesting to see how there's a bit of a disparity there. Now I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying that it's a very interesting observation, you know. And then also, I mean, I really liked Tam. I think Tam was a really good
Yeah,
one.
Tam was good. Tam was
I
really
really liked
good.
that performance. I think it was just maybe just a little bit too messy.
Mm,
The thing is that in a lot of these selections, there's a lot of different people. So obviously you've got to try and stand out, and by doing that, you kind of make it a little bit too, you know, calamitous, if you know what I mean. It
yeah.
just seems a little bit all over the place. So I think if she had a chance to refine her performance even a little bit more, she could have done a lot better. I think she still does pretty well, but I think, you know, there was an opportunity there for a really good, like an impactful song. Um, but overall, I mean, you know, I think I said this as well. I'm usually not someone who pays that much attention to Pesma because a lot of the time the music just doesn't really hit for me. And
Yeah.
there's too many acts in the selection. Like for me, it's just too much. But I was
Mm.
pleasantly surprised actually to watch the shows and listen to the songs and actually find songs in there that were interesting, you know?
Yeah. I think I was very, this is the first time I watched Pesma, but I was very excited for it just because the amount of what came out of it.
Yeah.
And there were some like really good songs that, did quite well. Like you said, Tam, and wasn't there one where like she was standing and she had like glass, like, uh,
Vukela maybe? Mask?
yes, Mask. Yes,
Yeah.
Mask was another favorite. I just had to pick it up from
Yeah,
memory.
yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
I
I know
wasn't a
it was
fan
a
of that. If you watch the reaction video, you will understand that I was not the biggest fan of that. So I try to cleanse my head of that if I possibly can.
I'm the opposite. I absolutely loved the staging and the thing. It was good. I know it was like it was a big fan favorite, that
Yeah.
one. But I think overall there were some really good ones. I just hope that for Eurovision, Prince is able to just tighten a little bit of those elements that can push it up a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. So I mean now like we know that he's going to Eurovision. How do you think it's going to do? How do you think is it going to qualify? And if you think it is going to qualify, where do you think it's going to finish?
I don't think it's going to qualify, and
Ooh.
I think probably left side, like middle left side, probably. I don't know because it feels very much like you have to go for a broader audience, and there's so many like ballads. Like you've got Montenegro over here that's probably giving another similar type of ballad. You've got like other ones that have upped it. You've got France, you've got Switzerland, you've got all this lot that have different tastes of ballads, and I think that may drown out Serbia. I think this is a big issue when it comes to a big like problem when it comes to submitting a ballad is that so many other countries submit ballads, so you have to
Yeah.
really push through and do something that will blow people away. And I think even if Serbia tighten those elements, it's going to be very hard to beat through all the other like higher end ballads.
I think it could still qualify because Serbia still always has the the chance to qualify. I think it always seems to do well. The last time that it didn't qualify was back in what 2017.
Mm,
So it's been a while since they haven't qualified. And so really the odds are in their favor to make it. But I mean anything can happen.
yeah,
You are right in saying, I mean, this time around they're in semi-final two.
yeah,
Semi-final two is the more unpredictable of the two of the semis,
yeah,
I would say. And it also has Montenegro in there, which can be helpful, obviously, in terms for points and that, but also is going to be a challenging because it is very much the Balkan ballad in there, whereas like Mila has it is also a Balkan ballad, but it doesn't have the sort of traditional structure of what maybe a Balkan ballad
yeah,
would be like, you
no,
know. But it also maybe has Austria in there too that could help, but I think it would struggle. So I would say probably if it did qualify, it would be a little bit of a Ramonda situation where it
yeah,
might finish like ninth or 10th and then and then like just about maybe break into the top 20. I could see that.
yeah,
Or it could go 12th
yeah,
and then obviously then Serbia is just going to crash out. But um it really does just depend on how much they revamp the staging and put the focus on him and
yeah.
the meaning of the song as well, because there was a lot of elements that were in Pesma and I think they need to kind of tighten it in a little bit.
Yeah, no, exactly. Just some corrections. I think also we have to think about demographics as well and audience share and how in PESMA, like, okay, maybe an older audience appreciated it, but when it goes to Eurovision, you've got to sort of expand out. Will
Mm-hmm.
this song be able to bring in a younger vote, that younger vote share? I do not know. And I think that's another thing that may damage it in the odds is that sort of demographical hit. My theory is I think all the younger voters are going to go straight to like Finland and Badabadabastu and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that
of
bit,
course.
but still, it's still a thing that I think is going to affect Serbia a little bit in their chances.
Yeah, exactly. No, I do think I think it could happen, but also, I mean, people do like ballads, and if there is quite a lot of up-tempo songs, then the ballads
Mm,
will stand out a little bit more.
that is true.
But I mean, just looking at in general at the second semi-final, we have a good few ballads here. We're talking, I'm saying like Wasted Love,
Yeah.
Astaromata, Dobrodošli, also maybe I mean, New Day Will Rise will definitely be one of those ones as well. But so they all will be competing for votes there. So I could see it go either way, to be honest.
Yeah.
But like so kind of looking ahead then to like future years, what do you think then that Serbia needs to do to like maybe try to improve its chances and not have to be like struggling to try and get that 10th spot in the final? Because obviously now this will be the second time they like this, if they do qualify, it'll be like the third time in a row that they'll have barely just qualified. So what do
Yeah.
you think they need to do to improve PESMA in order to guarantee a higher spot?
Yeah, I think sort of diversify well, I don't know if it's like diversify the songs they have, but like um I think having something like Harem Girls in there to sort of make it different. Like have some artists that are a little bit more different and not like, oh, here's a pop song, here's a pop song, here's a pop song, here's a Balkan ballad, here's one weird song. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's a I'm gonna say it's a Melfest situation. You gotta have different um different types of artists in there so that when people are voting, they're like, right, we have country, we have this, we have that, we have another one, da 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 da.
yeah,
So, and then you have more diversity in your selection. I'm not saying you have to have like 10 more artists on there. I'm just meaning like
I
Um,
don't think they need that, to be honest. I mean, they're
no,
already sending
exactly.
30 songs in a semi-final anyway, so
Don't pull a San Marino. You're fine.
no, 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 no.
No, no, no. And have diversity in the selection that you have, and also like maybe they need to look into how their voting is. I'm not going to go into why, but I think they need to have a bit of a look into how their voting system is and how it can't be abused. I'm just gonna push that
Hmm.
under the
Okay. Yeah,
rug.
no, 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 fair enough. It's very valid. Um, I think for me, I think, they focus properly on the songs. They don't need to be thinking about like a audience and things like that because obviously they've just put fake applause on for those kinds of things.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I would say, continue to have different varieties of
Yeah.
music. Like this time around, we did have a little bit of different stuff. We did have the Harem Girls, but then we also had Sedlar, which was like this kind of
Yeah.
really slow kind of jazz ballad. Then we had, Tam, which is this kind of ethno pop banger, and then you also
Mm.
have then, like um Oksaya as well, or Ohaya, which was also like a really
Yeah.
weird like thick thing. So like there was some different stuff in there. I think maybe just try to find a way to show off the music industry and like the the
Exactly.
the up
Yeah.
and coming versions of that,
Mm.
because Theodora was quite popular when she went
Yeah.
to Eurovision anyway, and then obviously Prince I think is quite well known anyway, but then
Yeah.
you had Luke Black and Constructor who were very much the
Mm.
underground of Serbian music and they did really quite well. So maybe just sort of helping to platform more underground indie artists, those kind of things, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, that should be
um
good.
and I think also just as a way just to keep things interesting, just like, maybe also don't like resort to doing the typical Pesma thing of, translating the points from the jury into converting them into Eurovision points and then the same.
Mm.
That doesn't make sense. Keep it representative, keep it proportional,
Yeah.
because then, for example, then if it gets to a thing where like, 7 points from the jury and then 10 points from the televote or something like that, and then if they're like a little bit like a festival the Consal situation where if there's two songs that end up tying, then it can be done better based on a proportional system as opposed
Yeah.
to breaking it down into Eurovision numbers, because it's
Mm.
Eurovision, like it's that's not really what we're
No.
after, I don't think. um but yeah, I think that's it, to be honest. I mean, is there any other final points that on Serbia that you kind of want to talk about?
I think Pesma is on the right track. I just think this year, because of everything going on around it, and also like things slipped, and I'm confident that if they get everything sort of tightened up and they're back to sort of running normally again, we'll have maybe more names like Contract Constructor
Yeah.
and Luke Black coming out of the of that national selection. But I just think this year they had a bit of a fumble. And I think also we need to keep in mind that I think because of what was happening around, some of the artists' morale may have been a bit lower compared to what maybe would have normally happened because
Hmm.
of what was going on around it. And I think that's one thing to majorly keep in mind as well. Same with like voting and things like that. A
Hmm.
lot of that stuff is majorly affected, like I said, with like demographics and things like
Yeah.
that. Um, but I thought I'd put that out there just in case. Yeah,
No, no, no,
if
no.
we're
It's a very valid point.
if we're
I
being critical, it's also in mind of that sort of
Yeah, of course. It's finding
side
ways
of
to
things.
help uplift a national final. And I
Exactly.
think,
Yeah.
like in terms for the quality of the songs, it's not like they're down on Moldova's
Oh yeah,
selection. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
nowhere
Yeah.
near as bad as that. But like it, there's always room to improve, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'll be intrigued to see what Mila is going to be like on stage.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be an interesting show. Serbia does usually know how to stage quite well,
Yeah.
so
No.
I'm intrigued to see
Exactly.
how they're going to translate it. Because I mean, the last couple of years, they have kind of they've taken elements from Pesma and then brought it into a new level. So maybe they might kind of take some elements from the Pesma staging and then bring it to a new like to the stage in Basel. I guess we'll just have to wait and
Yeah.
see.
I am positive because Romanda had, I'd say, one of the most beautiful staging along with Ukraine last year. And I'd always say it was one of my favorites out of the previous class of Eurovision that had when it came to that. So I am confident that Serbia will know what they're doing, but it
Yeah.
just we'll see how it all chalks up at the show.
Definitely. Well, that's pretty much is everything that we have to talk about Serbia. So tell us, what do you think about Serbia's song? Are you happy that Mila is now representing Serbia? Do you think it should have been someone else? Please do let us know down in the comment section down below. Thank you very much to Molly for joining me on this episode. It's been very nice to chat to you. And obviously, yes, please do subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, do all that stuff. It really just helps us out on the algorithm and just gives us more of a chance to get to Basel. It would be so fantastic to just go there and have a chance to cover this song contest once again. If you like what you're seeing, please do check out a lot of our other stuff. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Tumblr, and Blue Sky, all at that Euro site. Check out that EurovisionSite.com as well, because we're going to be pumping out all of the different news that we're heading into pre-party season. So
Hey,
it's going to be so busy. We're going to be at LEP, we're going to be at Eurovision concert, we're going to have a few other bits from maybe some of the other pre-parties that are going to be going on. And obviously then we're going to be heading straight to Basel and just hope for the best. So yeah, also please check out the podcast as well. You might be listening to the audio from this discussion on the podcast right now. So please do, hit the follow button and, check out our social media at That Euro Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are all at That Euro Podcast there, and also just get the podcast from wherever you usually get your podcast, because we're pretty much on every streaming service. So we're giving you options. That's fantastic. So yeah. And yeah, I guess we will see you in the next one then. See you later.